Welcome to Work It Back, where we work back through my life experiences. I'm your host, Mercy, and today we'll be talking about breast cancer, part 2, the month of October. In the last episode, we covered the month of September, where I got my diagnosis and started my breast cancer journey. This month, we'll be talking about October, the scan month. And the reason I say the scan month is because October was the month we got all of the scans done so we can image and stage the cancer to see how far along it was. The process of getting the scans done moved fairly quickly in the sense that they were virtually back to back. And if you haven't had many scans done, let me tell you, those take a toll just as much as any part of the breast cancer journey does. You have to constantly go in and out of hospitals, lay on beds, get scans with radioactive, magnetic, isotopic, whatever materials. And people don't talk about that part. They're like, oh, the cancer is hard. Oh, the medicine is hard. And both of those are hard. But I got zonked going to all of these scans. And I'm pretty sure it was all the things that they were putting in there because I had radio tracers in there, radioactive tracers in there. I had magnetic readings done on me with MRIs. It was a lot. Coming at the very top on October 2nd, we had my first CAT scan, which is for my chest, abdomen, and pelvis. In order to get prepped for the scan, they have you come in like an hour or so early and ask you which flavor of drink you would like to take the tracer in, because what they do for a CAT scan is they make you ingest a certain type of dye that then takes a while to settle within your digestive system and move throughout your body. So whenever they go and do the CT scan, they can see that dye. Well, they need to put it in somehow, so they put it in a drink, and the drinks are nasty no matter which flavor you pick. The first time around, I picked lemonade, which was a mistake. I should have chosen fruit punch. I didn't learn that until a few months later. But if you have the option, do the fruit punch. It covers the flavor much more than the lemonade does. On October 3rd, I had an MRI for my breast, and whenever you go there, you are not allowed to have any metal jewelry whatsoever, which for me was a problem because I had just got my vertebrae put in less than a year ago, and I didn't want it to close or start to heal up. I got a plastic substitute put in there instead, which I definitely recommend if you're going to be going to do a lot of scans and you have a lot of metal in your face. These are easy to take out. I've had them forever, so those weren't really my problem. It was really just my vertebrae. Whenever I got there, they let me go into a room so I can get changed and put on a medical robe. After I got the medical robe put on and I put all my belongings up into the locker that they had provided, I went to a different room and talked to a doctor about what was going on, why I was there, and what we were looking for today, because they don't really necessarily share what your situation is to any of the specialists that they send you to. They just send you to them. So throughout the whole process of me getting all these scans over and over and over again, I was telling people, yes, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're so young. I'm like, yes, I know. And they're like, oh, you're just too young for that. Well, it's here. So let's get this process moving, shall we? When I left the room with the doctor, he led me into another room where the MRI machine was. And usually you lay on your back and then get slid into this giant tube while it takes your readings. But because I had breast cancer, I needed an MRI of the breast specifically. In order to do that, you don't lay on your back, you lay on your stomach in this contraption where it's a bed from your sternum down, but from your sternum up, it's this like a bucket with a beam in the middle of it. And the beam goes right here in between. So your breast's just hanging there. You're getting put into a feeding trough for your babies to just come and get milked or something. It felt so weird. But I laid there and the sternum is right there in the middle, and they give you headphones. So that way you can listen to music if you want. And they give you this little thing to squeeze. So if you get claustrophobic or you just can't do it anymore, you can squeeze and tell them to stop. I'm not claustrophobic. So I didn't squeeze it, but the whole process took probably about 10 to 15 to 20 minutes. I'm not really sure. I was in there for a really long time, and the beam that was in the middle of my sternum was just, it felt like I was being slowly just cracked open. And I'm not a light girl. I have a good amount of weight behind me. So laying there for that long was not comfortable, no matter what it is that they did to try to make me feel comfortable. To their due, they did try. But it was very loud. So if you're scared of loud noises or you have claustrophobia, prepare yourself. The MRI is going to trigger both of those. On October 4th, I got a bone scan for my whole body. Now, whenever they do this, they inject you with a radio tracer, which then moves throughout your body. Once again, you have to sit and wait for this to take place. A lot of hurry up and waiting was going on of this. This was the theme of this month. Hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait. So after they injected the radio tracer, I had to sit there for an hour. Then I was able to go and lay down, and another tube went over my body to scan all of my bones. That same day, I got an echocardiogram, which is basically an ultrasound for your heart to see where your heart is at this stage of the cancer before they give you the medicine. The medicine that they give you is very taxing on your body, especially the heart. If you don't have good heart function, they can't give you that medicine in the way that they want to. So they were making sure that my heart was good enough. Now, in the process of all of this going on, like I said, it was a very fast moving situation. They wanted to hurry up and get started because of my cancer being so aggressive. Whenever they did the scans and we were waiting for the results to come in, at some point in time, not the doctor, but like, I guess a technician or a nurse or someone who was supposed to give it to the doctor caught eyes on the scan, misread it and said I had a low EF, which is an ejection fraction. Ejection fraction is the percent of blood your heart pumps out per contraction. They're usually looking for like 50% and above, and what the technician read it as was 40%. So they were very concerned with the health of my heart before starting, and they were, in order to get things moving quickly, they were like, oh, well, we need to get you into a MUGA scan. A MUGA scan is a multi-gated acquisition. What that means, I have no idea. And honestly, neither do a lot of the people at the hospital. Because when I went in to say that I was getting a MUGA scan, they looked at me like I was crazy and asked me, what is that? That's not reassuring whenever you go to a hospital when they ask you, what is it that you're getting? What does that mean? I thought you knew. What are you talking about? As I'm sitting there waiting for the MUGA scan, the person who does the echocardiogram came in and was like, you're not going to go get that MUGA scan. I was like, I'm not. She's like, no. The actual doctor who was supposed to read your chart read it, finally got back to us. Your ejection fraction is not at 40%. It's at 60%. You're completely fine. You don't need this today. I was like, thank the Lord. And I went and saw my oncologist for the very first time. He had said that my chemo was supposed to start on October 8th. Due to the scans and the information that came back from the scans, that was then postponed to the 15th. My bone scan came back clear, and the MRI showed that I had 4 spots of metastatic disease in my right breast and 1 spot in my left. Because of how aggressive and how spread out the tumors were, they wanted to go and check to see if it was anywhere else in my body before moving forward. Now, I keep saying metastatic disease because I know at this point I have metastatic breast cancer. At the point in time in which I was getting these scans, they did not know it was metastatic. So they were prepping me for just a regular old breast cancer treatment plan. Whenever they found that I had 4 spots of tumors in my right breast and 1 spot on my left, I became more concerned that it was more than they were seeing. So they decided to do an MRI of my liver. That happened on October the 12th. Now, the MRI of the liver is much more normal. It's much more akin to a regular MRI. You lay down on your back, and this tube, you go in and out of this tube that scans your body using magnetic radio waves. Once again, no metal jewelry is allowed at an MRI. I don't know if you've ever seen Final Destination Bloodlines. It's not a pretty picture if you have metal in an MRI room. Just a heads up. October 15th came around, and because of everything that had happened with the previous scans, my chemo got postponed again to the 22nd. The results of my MRI for my liver had come back with 3 spots of metastatic disease, and that is when they confirmed that I did in fact have metastatic breast cancer. Now, a lot of people are asking, what does metastatic mean? Metastatic means that it can be treated, but it cannot be cured. And it also means that it metastasized outside of where the origin point of the cancer started. So my cancer started in my breast, went into my lymph nodes and into my liver. And once it's metastasized, it cannot be cured. It can only be treated, which then changes the whole game plan as far as the treatments that they're going to give you. Once they found that I had 3 spots in my liver, they were like, let's take a biopsy of those spots. And the biopsy was done by my favorite surgeon that I was talking about in the last episode that I had such good times with, he then offered out of the goodness of his heart to say, oh, do you want me to just go ahead and take those fallopian tubes and ovaries out while I'm down there? Now, I'm pretty sure he was saying this because it is actually well known amongst the medical community that of the bias against Black women, specifically sterilizing them. And I'm not sure if he offered to take my fallopian tubes out of the goodness of his heart or for any other purposes. But since it aligned with what I wanted, which was I don't want to have any more children, I said yes. So we scheduled the biopsy and the fallopian tubes to be removed on the 18th. Now, before you go in and you have your fallopian tubes and ovaries removed, if that's an option that you're coming across, make sure you take all of the information before you go through with it. Whenever they remove your fallopian tubes and ovaries, it means a few things. You will no longer have a period. You will then go into post-surgical menopause because the estrogen that is being produced by those things are no longer being produced. Your body then goes into menopause. I am 31. Going through menopause. Menopause is not just, oh, I'm so hot. No, it means you literally feel like you're melting, like you're on fire from the inside out. Your head hurts, your body is melting, you get very irritable, you get dizzy sometimes you feel a little sick. It's not just, ooh, I'm a little hot. It's much, much more. And everyone that I've ever come across in my life was like, oh, hot flashes suck. But they never actually describe how they suck. Well, now you know. Please, if you don't know what menopause is and you have the option to just let it happen naturally, maybe let it happen naturally. On October 16th, I got an MRI of my brain because they had found everything else. They were like, well, let's look in the brain to see if there's anything in there. Luckily, it came back clear. It wasn't necessarily discussed, the results of the MRI. It was really just like, yeah, you're good. Whenever I was reading the results, I was seeing that apparently I'm prone to migraines, which explains a lot because I have a lot of them. So it was really good to know and figure out that I wasn't just going crazy and that something was up with my brain. No, it's just you're prone to migraines. I don't know what to do to fix that necessarily because on that point in time, they were more concerned with the cancer than the migraines. So we didn't really talk about it. October 18th was the liver biopsy and the ovary and fallopian tube removal. Whenever I got there, the surgeon who had been doing everything so far had made a comment on asking if it was a hard time to get my piercings out. He's like, you got your piercings out. Was it hard to get them out? And I said, no, it's actually pretty easy to put them in and out because he thought it was humorous that he's like, I don't understand why people get all this metal in their face. It makes it very difficult to do scans. I didn't get these piercings with the thought that I would one day have to deal with breast cancer. So pardon me for living a little. Go inside. Okay. After I got out of surgery, I went immediately to go get a PET scan done, which is where they put a radioactive tracer into your blood. You sit there so it can travel around your body. Yes, I said radioactive tracer. Sit there while it moves throughout your body. And then whenever you're ready, you go into another MRI-like tube and you just lay down while they scan your body. It's a lot of these scans are shaped the same way. You lay down and a tube of some kind just goes over your body. It's a lot of tube. And a lot of people were just saying, if you're claustrophobic, watch out. If you're claustrophobic, watch out. Luckily, I'm not claustrophobic, so it wasn't such a bad situation. And just like the mammogram was done in a trailer in the back of the hospital, the PET scan was also done in a trailer in the back of the hospital. Because I guess, once again, if you don't have a dedicated unit for those things, they have traveling trailers that do that for you. After the liver biopsy came back, and the PET scan came back, it was confirmed that I then had metastatic stage 4 breast cancer. And finally, we could move on with the cancer treatment. October 22nd was the first day I started chemo, and they tell you to take these steroids that they give you the day before and the day of in order to get you beefed up and ready for the chemo. Whenever you go in there, they inject you with more steroids and these thing, I don't know what it is specifically, but it's pre-medicine that gets you ready for the chemo. And then you sit there for about an hour and a half getting the chemo just pushed through your port. The first few days after chemo weren't too bad because I was still pretty beefed up from the steroids and it hadn't really taken effect yet. After about the second or third day, it went downhill from there very, very fast. I wasn't able to eat anything that I wanted to eat. I wasn't able to keep anything in. And I don't mean like throw it up. I was shitting. That's all I could say. I was shitting constantly. It was a diuretic situation from jump to end. And it was so bad that I had lost probably 10 pounds within the first week of getting the chemo. Whenever they realized that I had dropped so much weight, they were very concerned and told me that I needed to come in to get fluids more often, because usually they say you can get fluids like every once in a while. But for me, it was a special case. I had to go in twice a week. They were only there twice a week. And for both times that they were there, I had to be there every week getting fluids. Because I was so dehydrated, and I was continuously getting dehydrated because I was continuously diuretic. The thing with chemo is a lot of people say you're throwing up and you're doing all this and that. And while you do get incredibly nauseous, they do give you medicine to help with that nausea. We have come so far in the steps that they have taken in order to help adjust you towards your treatment. So like in the movies and the shows, you're just sick, and you can't do anything about it. That's not true. They can give you pills that help. And if the pills don't help, you can go straight to them and say, these pills aren't working too well. And they'll give you nausea medicine straight through the port or straight through the vein. And that helps much more. I barely got nauseous during my chemo times, except whenever I did miss my fluids, then I would get very nauseous. But what really, really messed me up was the diarrhea. And I know that's TMI, but you're here listening to my podcast and I'm talking about my breast cancer and where I had a lot of diarrhea. It was so much so that they had to prescribe me this thing called Imodium, which I heard of things to help you go, but I never heard of things to help you stop going. That helps you stop going. You don't go. Unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily give you the chance to build up into a regular bowel movement. You just then don't go, and then like the third day, you then diarrhea again. I read this one thing on Reddit one time that was like, everyone's asking if everyone's asking if cancer patients are okay when really they're trying best not to shit themselves. I've never read a more true statement. Anyone else out there that has gone through this process, I commend you. And anyone out there that might be going through this process, hold on for dear life and don't shy away from telling your doctors everything that is going on. As disgusting as it sounds or TMI as it seems, they're there for a reason. They're there to help you, and they will help you, but you have to let them know that you're shitting yourself. Luckily, I never actually shat myself, but I was very close on a few times. Now, during the month of October, I had gotten so many packages in from my Get wish list on Amazon that I had set up. Because like I said, I had gone viral around the end of September, early October. So a lot of people were getting views on my situation, and everyone was like, set up an Amazon wish list. And I was like, what do I put on there? Like, things you need for chemo. So I just put a whole bunch of crap I needed on there for chemo. And it turns out I didn't really need as much as I put on there. Still very grateful that I got them all, but they had a couple of things for neuropathy, which is nerve damage that happens at the fingertips and the toes. And for me, it wasn't necessarily painful. For a lot of others, it can be painful, and they have neuropathy gloves and feet gloves, footies that you can chill, like an ice pack. And when you put them on, it helps, but you put them on while you're doing the chemo. I never had any problems with pain, but I did suffer discoloration. There was a band that started at the very bottom base of my nail bed and moved all the way up to the point where all my fingers looked purple. They looked purple at the very base and then like pinkish up here. They didn't look like they do now. To the point my daughter thought that I had like done nail polish on my fingers because they were dead. They were dying, basically. Luckily, it didn't stick. They're back to normal now. But at the time, it was very sensitive and it was painful. Not in the sense that it was like throbbing or painful on its own, but if you touched it, then it would be extremely painful. So I couldn't open cans and I couldn't open bottles anymore. Tab Buddies came in clutch. This isn't even a promo for them. Like, they're not paying me or nothing. They sent me a free Tab Buddy, and I was able to open soda cans that way, thankfully. And my partner at the time, he was able to open everything else for me because I had just become an old lady. I was an old lady pooping, and I couldn't open anything for myself. I was bedridden for a good majority of time once the chemo really started going. That was later on down the line, but in the early months of October, it was mostly just I couldn't stop pooping, and I couldn't eat the way I wanted to. As I started getting the fluids done more and more, I was able to sustain a regular diet that I wanted to because it was easier for me to eat when I was hydrated, go figure. After I had gone into the doctor in the month of September to get my whole process started, and I talked to my mother, she reached out to a family member that we have who reached out to a friend that she had who is the chief of surgical oncology at the Medical College of Wisconsin. I don't know that we had these kind of ties in our family, but apparently we do. And she was able to tell me if the doctors were doing me wrong or not. Luckily, my doctors are very good, and everything that they were doing, she was agreeing with the whole time. But she did want to see my medical imaging. Now, whenever you go in and you get all your scans done, you don't get the imaging yourself. The doctors get it. But if you want to get it yourself, you can. You have to go to the hospital that you got it at, or you can call them and ask for a copy of your scans, and it usually comes on like some kind of disc, and it's not a DVD. I'm not sure what it's called. I forgot what it's called, but I had to get a special reader in order to read it, and I had to become like tech savvy like that, which I'm not really, and figure out how to send all these images that I got to my mom, who was then sending them to the doctor, who was then being able to relay information back and forth saying, yes, this looks good. Yes, they're doing a good job. She was concerned whenever they said that they were going to take my fallopian tubes and ovaries out for the reasons that I had stated earlier. But I assured her that I didn't necessarily want any more children, and I had read up on all of the issues that might have popped up, and I still wanted to get it. Her main concern was really like my ability to get pregnant again, which... Another thing, while I was going through this whole process, they were very concerned about whether or not I was going to have children again, and whether or not I needed reconstruction after they were going to take my breast off. Because of how aggressive the cancer came upon and showed up, they were dead set on removing my breasts, and they were going to have to do like a double mastectomy. And they were saying that this hospital that I'm at doesn't have a reconstruction unit, so I was going to have to be sent out to go get reconstruction done. And I was about to tell them that I didn't necessarily care about getting reconstruction done. And then the doctor who was doing, the surgical doctor who we love so much, was telling a story about how this one woman who going through a situation very similar to me decided not to get the reconstruction done, and he called her stupid for it. Just straight up was just like, I thought that was so dumb. And I was like, oh yeah, that okay, well then. Luckily I didn't, like I said, have to deal with him too much. The rest of my team understood completely that I was not wanting them back. If they were going to take them off, you can keep them. I don't want them back. They said that's fine, and I was like, great. Obviously that did not happen. There was no need for me to get anything taken off. But don't let those doctors push you around if you know what you want. If you want reconstruction, get reconstruction. If you don't want reconstruction, stay flatty and a batty. There are plenty of those people out there, and they look just as great as they do if they were to have fat sacks on their chest. You know what I'm saying? This is your body, so you make the decisions. If you want to have reconstruction, that's great. If you don't, that's also great. Don't let your doctors push you around. Advocate for yourself. Advocate for yourself. Advocate for yourself. It is so important that you speak up about what it is you do and don't want, and how it is you want things to happen. Because if you don't tell them, they can't know. Now, if you tell them and they still trying to push, make it a big deal. Don't ever stop advocating for yourself. October was also a busy month at home because I had 2 birthdays in my own family, in my own home, to celebrate while I was going through the situation. The first birthday was my daughter's birthday. We went bowling with her grandmother and her dad, and we had an ice cream cake, and she enjoyed herself very much. It was a very simple birthday party because I was in the midst of getting all these scans done. I was supposed to get started on chemo soon, so we were keeping it very simple. And because of all the finances that had gone towards this journey already of going back and forth to my appointments, we weren't really able to give her the biggest birthday that we wanted to. Luckily, that changed later on in December. But the second birthday that we celebrated in October was, in fact, my daughter's dad's birthday. His birthday is on the 23rd, and that was the day after I got my chemo. We got my chemo on the 22nd. The 23rd, we go out to Evansville, Indiana, I think, and we go to this cute little cafe called Kite and Key Cafe on Benjamin Franklin Avenue, I think. Yes, Benjamin Franklin, as in Kite and Key. Very cute, very lovely, very catchy. We had the nicest time there. If you're ever in that area, please go eat there. So cute, such good food. We were able to sit outside in the sun. We're the only ones out there, and it was a really nice time. And luckily, before my chemo set in, so whenever I went to go get my follow-up shots, because I had to get like other medicine shots to help with the chemo, a few days later, when I went and told them that we had gone all the way out to Evansville to go get that, they're like, wow, you were really feeling good. I was like, oh yeah, I'm feeling fine, thinking it's not going to affect me whatsoever. But then the shitstorm happened. And my mom told me at the time that we have another family who was going through chemo, and whenever she goes through chemo, she would have her good days. It was like the day before, the day of, and the day after. Those are the good days of chemo. If you've got anything to do them on those days. Don't overexert yourself, though, because come the next following weeks, it's going to be horrible. You're not going to have any energy. You're not going to want to get up. You're not going to want to move, even though you're going to have to shit yourself 24/7. So just make sure that you really balance out what it is you're doing if this is a process that you're going through, and remember to be kind to yourself. That was something I had to remind myself. That is it for the month of October. I'm your host, Mercy, and this has been Work It Back, and we hope that you join us next time for the months of November, December, and January.